Ever been in a survival situation where you need to start a fire and don't know how? No? Me neither. Well, if you need to learn how to start a fire, this is a video for you.
C-A-M-B-F-I-R-E-S-O-N-G song. C-A-M-B-F-I-R-E-S-O-N-G song. And if you don't think that we can sing it faster, then you're wrong.
Materials you will need include twigs and sticks, ranging from about 2-3 feet, all the way down to tinier ones from about half an inch in size and length. You will also need some bark, a couple pieces, maybe like about 8 pieces of bark. Then these are pieces of wood that I had previously cut up. You want them about a foot, 2 feet. You want about 6 pieces of these, and then you also want some thicker pieces of wood, like these, and you're gonna want about, I just have 2 for the sake of the video, but if you want to keep a fire really going, just have plenty of these on hand. And then you can't forget, you need something to start it all with, and I'll be using matches. And the goal is to use the least amount of matches as possible to be resourceful, and that's all you'll need. Next step is you want to create your space where you're going to build your fire. Safe thing to do is make it about 3 feet wide, 3 feet across as well. So I'm just going to draw a circle to show the area that I'll be making the fire in. Oh, that thing broke. I should be safe from those sea bears in this circle. Okay, and this is about as big as you want your fire pit to be. You can make it even smaller, something like about this size, depending on how big you want your fire really to be. So it's up to personal preference and what you're going to be using the fire for. And that's how long, or the size of the fire pit should be. Next step will be actually digging out the hole to put the materials that will build your fire. Now I will begin digging the hole with the shovel, but if you're in a survival situation, obviously you won't have a shovel. A good substitute could be a really thick stick that you could have pointed out a little bit with a knife if you have a knife on you, and you just chip away at the dirt. It'll take a lot more time, but it'll get the job done in a survival situation. And you want the hole to be about 2 to 3 feet deep, and that's what I'm going to do next. So I made the hole, as you can see. I ran into a couple of roots, but that's no big deal. It's still deep enough where it'll contain the fire. And the whole purpose of digging the hole is to contain the fire so it won't spread as well, and to keep it blocked from the wind and keep it alive longer. And even found some protein. Okay, no, that's gross. I'm sorry, though. I'm not that desperate to survive. Okay? Okay, now this next step is sort of optional. In a situation where you really want to contain your fire, and if there's extreme wind conditions, you can use rocks, or not rocks, well, bigger rocks, about the size of this brick, and you can build a wall to protect it from the direction of the wind. So in my situation, the wind's coming at me this way, so I want to build my wall this way to block the wind. And my substitute here is bricks because I don't have rocks in my situation, or boulders, like medium boulders. So you just want to build up your wall. Okay, and that's good enough. For this next step, you want to create your wood shavings, and you do that with a sharp object you have, like a little knife, and sticks or pieces of wood. And what you want to do is, you can get a little bit closer, you want to start at the top with your blade facing down, apply pressure with your thumb, and just scrape, and keep scraping. And as you can see, you have little wood shavings that are being created. And you want to create a generous amount, about a handful or so. And this part is pretty tedious and takes a while, but it's the key part to starting your fire. This is really, really important that you get a good amount of wood shavings in case your fire doesn't start with the first batch, but you really need your wood shavings. And I'll get back to you when I've had enough. Got my wood shaving set. As you can see, I have a little handful. All right, now. Okay, so the following steps are gonna be inside in my chimney because of safety reasons. I don't want to create a big fire outside and then have another California wildfire, like, miss me with that. Okay, so now I will continue the process, but inside, and everything that I will do inside the chimney will be applicable to the fire pit I made outside and showed earlier in the video. It'll just be inside here instead. Okay, so as you can see, I have some wood shavings set down there, which is the first thing you want to do. You want to put down your low surface area pieces down first so that the fire will burn it easier and faster. So that's why I have my wood shavings there. And next, what you want to put are your dry pieces, such as the leaves. You want to put those around. You just want to keep stacking, but try not to make a tight bundle, or else your fire won't get any oxygen. And if it doesn't have any oxygen, they can't burn. And you also want to try to avoid green pieces like this, because that won't burn at all. Okay, so now that I have some leaves set like this, I'm done with my first step. Okay, now the next step you want to do is you want to put your very, very thin twigs, the very thin twigs that are pretty small in size, and you want to spread those on top of the fire, kind of in a teepee sort of fashion. Try not to put them as directly on top of one another, or else, like I said, it won't allow the oxygen to flow freely. And make sure your pieces are pretty dry. That'll help start the fire as well. And you want to have relatively small pieces. You can even break them up into smaller ones. just want to spread them around. Like I said, try to not make a big bundle. Okay, now I'm done with this step. Okay, now you're about ready to start your fire. What I'll be using are some matches, and if you don't know how to start a match, the top of the match that's pretty round, it's color coded as either green or red usually. You strike this part along the side of the box, which will ignite a flame, and you will use that to start your fire. Now before you strike your match and try to put it towards your fire, you want to make a little hollow divot inside your little pit that you already made of leaves. And now when you strike your match and you're bringing it over to that little pit that you made to insert the match, you don't want to rush the match towards the fire, because that'll most likely just put it out on the way to the fire. So you want to kind of gradually move it. Okay, so now let's see if I can do it with one match. So I've lit the flame. Now I'm going to put it inside the little divot I created. And you want to try to light as many places within the fire as possible. And then you want to add more and more leaves, but slowly. You don't want to suffocate the fire pretty much. And now just let the fire do its thing. Unless you start to see it go out a little bit, then slowly add more and more leaves. And then let's help it spread a little bit by placing a little bit more leaves. And don't think that you've got your fire completely started, because it can go out pretty fast. Now what you want to do is add a little bit of the thicker sticks around the fire again in a TP format, so that they start heating up and so that they catch faster. They catch fire faster. You just want to keep gently placing them around the fire. And you just repeat this process, adding in the bigger chunks as the fire progresses to keep it going longer. And just like that, you survived another day, and you won't have to die of whatever it is that you're fighting. And you have a fire. Yeah. Yeah. And just as an extra clip, this is what I meant by adding the thicker pieces later on. So you see how towards the middle you have the smaller twigs and all that, and the leaves. And then I slowly, like I showed, I started adding the thicker pieces and the thicker twigs around the outsides, forming a little teepee shape. And then once that started to catch fire and make the fire itself bigger, that's when you start adding the thicker pieces, such as the thicker barks and the thicker twigs, such as that thick piece of bark that I added there. And it's also important to poke at the fire as well, to try to let some oxygen go through it, through the inside of the fire to keep it going. And the next thing you'd add, if you really wanted your fire to get bigger, is your logs, such as this, and you just put it around in a similar form that piece of bark is, and that'll keep your fire going and blazing, and that's how you start a fire. just as a little extra clip, this is what I meant by adding the thicker pieces in. So you see towards the middle, we have the small twigs and the burnt leaves that we added previously to get started. And once that started, I got photobombed, I guess. I added the thicker twigs on the outside, forming a little teepee shape that you can see there. And then once those started to really burn and catch fire, that's when you add the thicker pieces seen here, like the tree bark that I put there in the middle. And once that starts to burn for a while, as it is now, that's when you would add in your thicker logs in there if you really wanted a big fire. And with these thick pieces, they last really long, and that'll keep your fire going for a while, and you'll be nice and cozy, and that's how you start a fire. Ever been in a survival situation where your dog enters your frame when it's not intended to? Get out of the frame! Cut!